in the Vista City businesses. And so, anyway, I get excited when I talk about that. I'll kind of close with this slide, and then I know we probably have some questions, but we have seen out of our job programs and our trade school programs, our trade school programs have, last year, we had 42. We only had 42 sign up because that's all the funding we had. 40 graduated in their programs, and 39 of them are living unsubsidized in their own apartments. And they're all across the county because we're seeing their lives change. And we actually had youth come to us, and they're a part of choosing the trades because we hear from them. What are you interested in? We have the fair trades, and they pay living wages. And so we hear what they're interested in, and we bring them in, and we hear that this is what we want to go into. And so our success rate has been amazing. We can develop that same program up here, and we actually have our partners that are excited about that we could really make a difference. I mentioned just some of our partners, and just to give you, we're one of the I guess you'd say a younger organizations than some of our collaborators in this field, but we really feel that we would be an amazing partner for Vista. We'd love to come in and let's get more youth off the street, and let's see more youth become successful in their life, and they'll never have to return to the streets again. So, and thank you also for my wonderful co-workers in this space and all that you do to support youth in need. So thank you so much for your time.
This concludes staff's presentation. We're available for questions along with Eric and his team.
Thank you. We do have Z King that would like to be heard.
Come on, Z.
You'll have 3 minutes.
Okay, I'll try to condense it. I'm a talker. So I'm Z. I have the lived experience. My speech teacher would be so upset with me with my limbs right now. I come from the lived experience side. I am a former foster youth of San Diego County, in addition to what we call a TAY. I am no longer a TAY. I'm now 29 years old and a mom to 2, and I work in the field. So I am a lead care manager for recuperative care. Most of my experience was with North County Lifeline, other partners that were actually named there. I intentionally began working with the organizations that I came from, which are all youth service providers. I really want to highlight the importance of what Urban Street Angels is trying to do. Anybody that talks to you about me will tell you that I am the resource queen. I have utilized every resource for TAY that there probably is, from here to maybe even Fallbrook, truthfully. None of them do it all at once. Everything is a pot here, mental health here, and what they're trying to do is really collaborate and bring it together so that we can get all the support that we need in one spot, rather than creating more barriers for ourselves in the process. My homelessness in North County, specifically as a TAY youth, trying to navigate that and being forced to choose between continuing to be homeless here and going down to San Diego and uprooting myself when I had already established work like with the YMCA, for example. So something like this is really important. I also would like to add, having the behavioral health on site is really big. I've been in recovery for 8 years. So in addition to trafficking, many of you know what the jungle is. I lived out there with my children, both here and Escondido. So prioritizing my work over getting my access to help, because I have to go back and it's a safety issue and all these things. So being somewhere safe where I can get not only my learning skills taken care of, I can learn how to cook. I can learn how to be a productive member of society and probably a better parent and break, generational curses and the cycle in itself, but also get some family. A lot of the other youth in San Diego County sometimes are still connected to theirs. I'm not to mine for the reason of breaking generational trauma. So something like this would have been really important for me because it also helped me identify who I was, and it took me a really long time to figure out that this is the work that I wanted to do and how to get there. So that's all to say, I figured it out. I'm here, I did it. But something like this is crucial so that we're not continuing the cycle of chronic homelessness as an adult, because I'm 29, but I just got here at 27. So thank you.
Well, thank you so much. We appreciate you sharing that with us. That's very beautiful. Well, I just want to say how excited I am
because 11 years ago I had the honor of meeting Dan Shea, and he became a friend of mine, and him and the late Peter Seidler formed Lucky Duck Foundation, and I happened to run into Dan one day at a restaurant, and there was Kim Miller having lunch with him and a few other good people, and he said, you know what, you need to sit down for a minute, and you need to know who Kim Miller is. And she's a Spitfire, and she introduced me about 3 years ago to Eric, and I had the opportunity to come down and tour Urban Street Angels. And, was just a couple of years earlier, I had a young man that worked for me for a number of years who was an aged out foster youth who had been homeless for several years. In his 14, 15, 16 years old years, he was homeless. And he shared those experiences with me as a member of my staff in my business. And that really was the first awareness I had about the plight of homeless foster youth. Shortly after that, I visited San Pasquale Academy and really began to learn a lot about how foster youth have a much higher rate of homelessness than almost any other group that is definable in our community. So when I got to meet you, Eric, and see the great heart that you have for the young people that you're serving there at Urban Street Angels, and when I got to see, I haven't come back yet to see the bakery. I really want to come see that. That was amazing what you were building there on the first floor to have occupational training and an opportunity for professional development. But when Jim Miller called me, and we explored all kinds of things. We looked at the property at Guahomie, and we tried to figure out how to make palletize the shelter and boxable things worked, and couldn't quite find the right fit for real estate. But Jim Miller called me, and I'm glad he did. He owned this property that used to be an Alzheimer's facility. And he said, Mayor, do you know anybody that could use this? I've got Alzheimer's patients walking up 3 flights of stairs. And I knew that we'd found the property that would be perfect for transition age youth and Urban Street Angels. And, we put the RFP out and others had the opportunity to bid, but I have to confess, I'm really happy that you won the proposal because I was really excited about the work that you were doing downtown. And I'm so honored that we get the chance to work with you right here in Vista. This is a great fulfillment of a vision that really came about by God's hand, and it's pretty amazing. This facility, I can't understate what a gorgeous facility it is. It's one of the most beautiful residential facilities I've ever seen, but it's built in such a unique way with 13 bedrooms that it's really not suitable for much other residential purpose other than some kind of a facility like this. But it's all built to Class A standard. I featured it in our State of the City speech this year, and so folks can go to YouTube and Google the city and the mayor's State of the City for 2024, and they can see some video footage from inside the facility. One thing I'm really looking forward to are the greenhouses coming back to life. I think that's going to be really special, so I'm really looking forward to that, and I'm really looking forward to coming, hanging out and having a barbecue around that amazing fire pit and the barbecue facility there. And I want some Texas barbecue. You're from Texas, right? No, Alabama. Well, they have good barbecue in Alabama too, right? So I'm going to make the motion that we award this contract to you. And I'm really, really pleased to have seen this vision come to life. And really special thanks to Kim Miller for her dogged determination and many phone calls and many ideas. I think this really wouldn't have happened without her determination. So I appreciate you being a constant voice of encouragement to make this a reality. Councilmember Contreras.
So I've had this in my office for quite some time. And Eric, this is from you. It's a thank you card. This is before I had gray hairs when I was first on council. I'm back here in this picture, okay? And you're right here. I texted John, I'm like you. Yeah, so, gosh, I don't know if it was the grand opening, I think at Fifth Avenue, right? Was that 2018 or 19?
That was 2019.
2019. So I've kept this in my office. I actually ran upstairs to go grab it because I was like, oh my gosh, I forgot I, didn't bring it down. I wanted to bring it down just to show you. I still have it because when I went and I took that tour, it really stuck with me. I recently saw the statistic that the North County LGBTQ Resource Center put out, that 28% of our youth experiencing homelessness and housing insecurity are part of the LGBTQ community. We could practically eradicate homelessness if we just loved our children. But in lieu of that, hopefully we can get there one day. I really appreciate what you've done. And I'm just so thankful that we have the opportunity to have you here in Vista. Complete yes to your motion, Mayor. I'll second that. And, I am very, very passionate about our youth and young adults being able to find their way to really good jobs and careers, because I know how difficult it is. You shouldn't have to win an election or two to have opportunities, right? So I know that together we're going to have something great. And you have my absolute commitment that I want to help our youth and young adults get into career paths because they deserve it. And they're hardworking and they have so much to offer our community if only they had a place to stay that was safe. And we're going to be able to provide that. So thank you so much. I really appreciate you, staff, and the entire program. Thank you.
Councilmember Fox.
I'll keep it short because this is the first time I believe we've ever met. I knew and I haven't been able to tour your facility down there, but I was able to tour the Ascot facility and I got to see so much opportunity there to do a lot of what I'm hearing today. So I'm really excited to see what you're going to do with it. That's really all I wanted to say.
Councilmember O'Donnell.
Yeah, I don't have a ton of comments. Thank you all for being here, though. 7,000 youth or young adults that you've helped over the tenure of 14 years. It's incredible the work that you've all done to try and get people not just education, but jobs, and whether it's trades or whatever it might be. It's amazing to be able to do that over and over again. Before I ran, we had 3,300 either disadvantaged or at-risk youth in our community. And to provide one more opportunity for these individuals to have a better life and have a better outcome is amazing. So just thank you for all the work that you do. I am so excited to work with you. I am so happy to support this, and I cannot wait until you get in there so I can come tour the facility again. So you have a good night.
Deputy Mayor Melendez.
Thank you. I just want to say thank you to Eric. I really appreciate your story. I think it's very powerful to have courage to go through everything that you went through and then decide to protect others, especially our youth. And we have such a great network here in North County of partnerships. I just see this growing into being such a wonderful, well-established program. And your expertise, the quality of your programs really shines through. And I'm very pleased to be able to vote yes on this tonight. Thank you all for being here.
Councilmember O'Donnell.
It's just, my apologies, gentlemen. Jonathan and Daniel, phenomenal work as you have continued to do during your tenure here in the city. Thank you.
I'll second that. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Please cast your votes. That proudly passes unanimously, and I apologize I would have bumped you up the first conversation had I known how long we were going to talk about the theater. Thank you so much for taking the time, and have a safe drive back. Appreciate you being here. See, there's a few things we all agree on. It's a good thing. All right. That'll bring us to our last discussion item tonight regarding speed limit updates in Council Districts 2 and 4. If there are any members of the public that wish to speak on this item, they may indicate so by using the raise their hand feature, by pressing *9, or by submitting a request to speak card. Speakers will be called upon after the presentation. Our Traffic Engineering Division Manager, Sam Hassanen, will introduce this item.
Good evening, Mayor, Deputy Mayor, City Council. I have with us tonight our mobility planner, principal mobility planner, Dara Woods, that will present this item.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor and City Council. Tonight, I will be presenting an item on speed limit updates for Districts 2 and 4. To start, a very brief summary as to how speed limits are set for those who might not already be familiar with the subject. The California Vehicle Code, also known as the CVC, assigns various default, known as prima facie, speed limits for various types of roads. And speed limit increases or decreases from the prima facie limits are based on an engineering and traffic survey, which is based off the 85th percentile speed. Current procedure, requires rounding up or down to the nearest 5-mile-an-hour increment, and it also allows for a reduction of up to 5 miles an hour from the value determined from rounding that 85th percentile speed based on special conditions. However, in October 2021, new state legislation, Assembly Bill AB 43, was approved, which modifies provisions of the CVC allowing for more flexibility in establishing speed limits on certain streets. AB 43 allows a further 5-mile-an-hour reduction in establishing speed limits on streets designated as safety corridors and streets adjacent to any land or facility that generates high concentrations of bicyclists or pedestrians. Additionally, agencies can implement speed limits of 20 miles an hour or 15 miles an hour based on an engineering traffic survey, and agencies can implement speed limits of 20 miles an hour or 25 miles an hour in business activity districts. Information about AB 43 was presented to City Council in January of 2024, at which time staff was directed to work with a professional consultant to evaluate the city's speed limits in accordance with this new legislation. A total of 99 roadway segments were evaluated for potential speed limit reductions, and as a result, 95 segments were recommended for speed limit reductions. These speed limit updates were presented to City Council in January 2025, at which time the following 2 actions were made. Council approved staff's recommendation for speed limit updates on various streets in Districts 1 and 3, and staff was directed to bring back speed limit updates in Districts 2 and 4 at a subsequent meeting to allow for constituents to provide input on speeds in these districts. As a result, based on input received from the community, the 9 segments shown in the table before you are requested for speed limit updates in District 2, which includes portions of Bobier, Foothill, Monte Vista, Santa Fe Avenue, Taylor, Vista Village, East Vista Way, and Warmlands. Additionally, based on input received from the community, these 6 street segments shown before you are requested for speed limit updates in District 4, which include portions of Longhorn, South Melrose Drive, Phillips, Santa Fe Avenue, Sycamore, and Thibodaux. And while on the subject, we also wanted to provide some additional information, which is that safe speed is one of the principles of the safe system approach, which is a guiding standard to address roadway safety, which has a key focus on reducing death and serious injuries. And the principle of safe speeds is essentially reducing speeds, reduces impact forces, and reduces the severity of injuries. And it provides additional time for drivers to stop, and it improves driver visibility. And there has been much research on this subject, and the chart in front of you illustrates from one of those sources that the likelihood of fatality increases with vehicle speed. Additionally, there are some example case studies on the efficacy of reducing speed limits. One is with Seattle, Washington, which they lowered the speed limit from 30 to 25 miles per hour on a certain street. And the outcome is they saw a 35% reduction in total crashes, a 21% reduction in injury crashes, and a 7% reduction in the 85th percentile speed. In Boston, they lowered the citywide speed limit from 30 to 25, and it had a 22% reduction in the proportion of drivers exceeding 35 miles an hour. And another example from Edmonton, Canada, they lowered the default citywide speed limit from 50 kilometers an hour to 40 kilometers an hour and saw a 26% reduction in total crashes and a 50% reduction in fatal and injury crashes. And for your information, as it relates to the city of Vista, over the past 5 years, there has been a total of approximately 2,849 crashes, of which just over 1,100 were injury crashes and 17 were fatal crashes. And as multiple people can be involved in these crashes, there actually was a reported 1,500 total injured parties resulting from these collisions. And in reviewing the city's collision data in more detail and the primary causes of these collisions, we wanted to note that unsafe speed was the third largest contributor to these collisions. That concludes staff's presentation, and we're available for any questions. Thank you.
Councilmember O'Donnell. Oh, I'm sorry. We have a member of the public, Carol Jeffries, that would like to be heard. You'll have 3 minutes.
Yeah, I didn't know much about what was going on before this, but I have a couple of streets that are of concern for me, and it's mainly just confusion. So Vale Terrace has like 5 different speeds listed on it, and in one area, 2 speeds are listed along Bringle Terrace Park. So it says 35 on the ground, and this is 25 on the sign. 25 is park area, whatever. And then, it's 10 through the roundabout. They just put in another speed or a stop sign. So there's like 35 from Vista Way to the stop sign. And then it's 35 from the stop sign to the roundabout, 10 through the roundabout, and then 25 or 35. And then it goes to stop, and then you go back to 35. And I don't know. It's very confusing, and I just feel like we need some standardization there. And then the other street is Civic Center, because it's supposed to be 35, but people just speed through there. And I don't think there's sufficient signage, and we need traffic calming. We've already taken away the street parking, and I think that actually makes people go faster. So I just would like to see some traffic calming and better signage. Like when you're coming up from where the Vons was up to Crescent, there's not much signage at all, if any, indicating how fast you're supposed to go. And if there is, it's hard to find. So those are just things that I wanted to. I waited all this time to tell you guys that. So,
Councilmember O'Donnell.
Carol, thank you for your dedication to the community and being here this late. I just want to thank staff for working with me on this. I appreciate all the feedback you gave me. Like I had said at the last meeting, I want to take this back to the community to get feedback from them. I received extensive feedback and then took that and sat down with our traffic engineers and also took their expertise advice on some of the roads that did not have any impacts that I had brought forward. So that's it. I mean, the only one I just wanted to address is on Longhorn, because it is right next to RBV. Some people may question why it's not down to 25. That is reduced already when children are present and reduced during school hours. But as I had mentioned to our traffic team, there is no flashing sign or signage on Melrose near RBV to indicate school zone. And so if we could have that added just as one more thing to let people know. There's a good point, though, brought up is I actually, while driving down Longhorn today, noticed that 35 miles per hour is painted on the street. Have we looked into the cost of removing that yet, or is that built into everything?
We have not conducted our field evaluation yet. We're waiting for tonight's action, and then we're going to look at all the street segments that were approved by council for speed limit reduction. Then we're going to do kind of our whole inventory of all the signs and markings that will need to change to reduce the speed limits.
Give me a scraper. I'll go do it myself. Save the city some money. Yeah, that's it. So I'm going to make a motion to approve the adjusted speed limits as presented by staff in this report. And I really do, again, appreciate all your work that went into this. The only other question I had for you, because it was brought up to me in an email. So the metrics that we use to identify areas of need for reduction in speed limit was pedestrian accidents as well as vehicle collisions. Speed, I mean, could you just kind of outline very quickly what measurements we took to evaluate?
Yeah, so in accordance with the new state legislation, the AB 43, there's 3 main areas. The first one is what is termed as the high injury network, which looks at all fatal and injury crashes, vehicles, pedestrians, bicycles. So that's one area that we analyzed. The city, citywide, came up with this, built this high injury network. So that's one group of streets that could use the additional speed limit reduction. And the second area is bicycle and pedestrian generators. That looks at actual land uses that are likely to generate non-motorized traffic. So we did some modeling to come up with this third group, or I'm sorry, the second group. And then the third group are streets that are residential, that are 25, that could be surveyed with radar, that potentially could go down to 20 or 15. So that's what the state legislation kind of came up with, these three kind of separate ways of reducing speed limits.
So it wasn't just throwing darts at a map and saying that one looks good?
Yeah, we did quite a bit of analysis.
I appreciate all the work. Thank you.
Councilmember Contreras.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and second that motion. And I just want to say that this presentation is fantastic. I know there was some disbelief from folks on the council that higher speeds create more fatalities, but I think that you were able to educate and help everybody understand that when you have a very heavy vehicle going more than 35 miles per hour, it's going to cause significant damage. But I really appreciate the way that you laid it out. And I also want to call attention because can you imagine how much of our staff time in firefighter, paramedic has gone into these injury crashes where we have 1,142 injuries in the past 5 years? I'm sure that if we put a price on our staff time, this would be significant. So I really commend the council on moving forward with this simple new tool that the state has provided to lower speeds. I look forward to continuing to see the data come forward on crash statistics. I would like in a year's time to revisit this and see if we have made progress, because we have implemented various strategies with traffic calming, and this is a critical component of that. So I would love to have just a year look back to see where we're at. 17 fatalities. I mean, if these were homicides, people would be up in air. Like, just please, let's address this. That is a lot. That's a lot of folks who aren't with us anymore. So again, this is a just incredible move forward for our city. And the last thing that I want to say is I'm really curious. You know, obviously, I believe that this will be updated in our GIS layer for streets, but I'm also curious to see if there's a way to call out networks of streets that are 35 miles per hour or less, simply because that's where low-speed vehicles or neighborhood electric vehicles, also known as, you know, street legal golf carts, they can operate on streets that are 35 miles per hour or less. So I think in the future this could be, you know, part of our mobility for folks. But just great work. Thank you, Councilmember O'Donnell and Fox, for taking you know, another look and coming to the conclusion that you did want to move forward. And thank you to the community for, you know, interfacing with your elected representatives to let them know what you want to see here in the city. So I'm ready to move on and start seeing some lower speeds. Thanks.
I'm just going to add my comments at this time. I don't support this item. No one has approached me with a request to lower speeds. In fact, research that the city spent money on just a few years ago indicated that people wanted to see us increase throughput. This council has made a sustained attack on motorists by reducing lanes of travel, despite the fact that the data very clearly showed, with 5 years of comparative data before and after, that the roadway on Melrose had fewer accidents with 3 lanes than it did with 2. And this council has elected to ignore the data. Question for you, Mr. Hassanen. When we talk about excessive speeds being the cause of accidents, does the word excessive mean exceeding the speed limit?
Generally, yes. And what the pie chart that we showed shows what the deputies cited as the primary cause factor. There could be other contributing factors. For example, 16% where the deputies cited the speed as a primary cause. Typically, that is over the speed limit. Sometimes it's the speed too high for conditions, maybe like in the rain or something.
Right.
But since we don't get a lot of rain here, generally it's just somebody exceeding the speed limit.
Generally, people exceeding the speed limit. So, in my opinion, we should be investing in appropriate quantities of policing in our community, which has, of course, been a constant refrain from me. We should be enforcing, and we did, and I appreciate the council went along with one additional motor deputy, but we should be adding 2 more motor deputies so that we can write more tickets for people that are violating the laws. We can make it 10 miles an hour all throughout the city and ain't going to do anything about the person at 2 in the morning wants to drive 100 miles an hour down Melrose and wipe out a tree or run into a phone pole or smash into somebody's house. Lowering the speed limit to 25 miles an hour where it's already 35 is not going to stop people from having accidents. If people are not going 35 miles an hour, why do you think they're going to go 25? You know, I'm curious to know how many of these are going to meet the warrants when we do the speed studies. Let me put it this way. Before this moronic change to the state law by the idiots in Sacramento, would any of these changes have met the test of state law based on observed prevailing speed?
So this is just an additional tool based on the observed speeds that we've always, the tools that we've always used and to set the speed limits and reduce them in certain instances. This added more ways to do additional reduction.
But before these new added ways to do reduction, would we have been able to reduce the speed based on prevailing speed?
No, not.
And explain to the public that's watching this conversation, what does the term prevailing speed mean under law?
Prevailing speed is the 85th percentile speed. So that's the measured speed on a street with a radar gun, basically, that gets plotted, and we get the 85th percentile statistical value.
I think this is a solution in search of a problem. I don't support it at all. I'm going to vote no on it. These are the same people that supported road user charges and vehicle miles traveled prohibitions, people that, support taxes that do not fund our roads, but instead fund projects like the $5 billion tunnel to nowhere underneath Del Mar that's just funneling resources away from motorists. It's just, I want the people of Vista to know, because largely they rely on their automobiles to get where they're going. Particularly if you're a wage-earning Vistan, I want you to really pay attention to what's happening here tonight. You are to be targeted because of your reliance on your automobile. The individuals who are passing this, they want you to be dependent on a bus and a train. I do not. I do not believe that, I believe the bus and the train are necessary as a public safety net. I believe they're necessary would be what I call the first rung on the economic ladder. I believe that first rung on the economic ladder is important. I rode a bus, 2 buses, and a train every day for 3 years of my life when I couldn't afford an automobile. But I want to make clear to the people of Vista that I will not support my colleagues' attack on motorists. I will not support my colleagues' sustained attack on affordability and the lifestyle that we live here in Vista, where we do depend on our automobiles. Motorists in Vista do not desire to reduce the speed limit to 10 and 15 miles an hour and 25. They want to be able to get where they're going. Motorists dream of being able to drive at the posted speed limit during rush hour. It is only during the dark of night when children, underage people, young people, drunk drivers. Thank goodness we just agreed to hire a DUI deputy to get the drunks off the road. Those are the kind of things we need to be doing, but it's the people at 2 in the morning who are speeding. And as you said, our traffic engineer, Mr. Hassanen, they're driving speeds exceeding the posted limits. You can't stop people from breaking the law by making it more illegal to break the law. It just, to me, doesn't smack of common sense. If you want people to abide by the law, then enforce the existing law. We are not doing that. We have people exceeding the speed limits at a lot of different times of the day. It's certainly not happening during rush hour because ain't nobody driving 50 miles an hour on a posted 50 or even 45 on a posted 45 during rush hour. They wish they could get where they were going. So with that, I'm sorry. I don't mean to be, to disagree by being disagreeable, but I see this as part of an agenda that is anti-motorist when the working people of our city depend on their cars to go to school, to go to work, to go to the grocery store, and to come home again. Thank you. Councilmember Fox.
Perfect. Thank you for taking all the time on this. I know we've made you bring this twice now, so I appreciate all the work. And I just wanted to echo, I went through a very similar process as Councilmember O'Donnell, going back to my community, asking for input. As someone who's new to council, I hadn't had a whole history of having complaints for certain things. So I wanted to make sure this was something that actually was something that my district wanted. I will say that I did kind of get some conflicting community input across the board. So that's when I made sure to schedule that meeting with the two of you, which did a wonderful job explaining the different areas in particular where we've had issues. And places where we've had a long history of people asking for changes. So, we definitely took the list and we narrowed it down on the ones where there's a lot of problems. So, I know the one thing we also looked at was looking at some streets that we had some mismatches where it was going to go from 30 to 35 back to 30 in short distances and things. So try to make it a little bit more clear and easy for people to understand. So if Vale Terrace has any issues with changing speed limits quite often, please look into it. If it's just something where the signage is, unclear, like maybe something when you're driving into the park, it becomes 25 and that just it's visible from the road or something. I'm sure you guys already take a look at that, but we also looked at some of the places where there were going to be some new capital projects, things like the roundabouts coming in and things. So making sure that the areas made sense with the speed limits as you're approaching, a roundabout or some of those kinds of things. So, this is kind of where we landed after a bunch of back and forth and a lot of really good information from the two of you. So thank you very much for that. And I look forward to working with you guys further on more of these things.
Councilmember O'Donnell.
Since I made the motion, I just want to provide some clarification to the audience and general public, as well as our residents here in Vista. I am on record of not supporting the road user charge, so I do not want that levied against me in any hit pieces or ads in the future should I decide to seek re-election, because that is not true. The second thing is our motor deputies, the motorcycle deputies don't operate at 2 a.m., so hiring 2 more of them wouldn't negate the argument that you just made, Mayor. And I understand that it was to a general audience, but since I made the motion, it is directed at me. So they don't operate at that time. So hiring 2 of them wouldn't alleviate at 2 a.m. Was there information, and I don't recall from the last meeting, that had all the times of when the accidents occurred in this list?
We have not broken that down, but that's something we can obtain. But generally, just
I'm not asking you to obtain it. I just want to know if there's some information I did not receive about the time and occurrences of these incidents of when accidents occurred, because I know that when I asked for a stoplight to be put in at Melrose and Dawson, the one person that opposed it, a week later we had a rollover accident from somebody getting T-boned at that street. So, which by the way, I did not lower the speed limits over there, but I appreciate the work that went into a stoplight. To the wage earners that utilize their vehicle, I utilize my vehicle to get to every job that I go to. I am not trying to stop you in your ability to get out of your home and to your place of work. But when I ask to lower speed limits outside of a school, especially when I see hundreds of kids crossing at an intersection every single day, I don't think that's an egregious ask. In fact, to keep our community safe, I think that's a good idea. And while there may have been studies 3 years ago, I received extensive emails, and I wish I had sent them to Kathy so that way she could have added them to the packet so you could see. Yes, there is not an overwhelming desire to lower speed limits by 10, 15, 20 miles per hour anywhere in District 4, but the targeted areas in which we utilized the information that was given from our traffic engineers is how these decisions came to be. So I don't think they're egregious. It's not trying to stop people from utilizing their vehicle. I wish I could take public transportation. I lived overseas for a year. I didn't have a vehicle. All I did was take trains and buses everywhere I went. It's probably the most fit I have ever been in my entire life because I couldn't get in an automobile and I had to walk. So I wish that we could have that infrastructure here in North County. I wish we could have it in San Diego. It doesn't exist. It probably will never in my lifetime. But This is an attempt to keep our community safe. I want you to be able to use your vehicle. I want you to be able to get from point A to point B. For those at 2 a.m., and I thank you to our deputies back there because I know that you have incurred or had an occurrence with some of those individuals at times that are ripping through our city. I talked to one deputy that somebody was going 106 miles per hour down Melrose. I agree. Those people, you're not going to slow down no matter what the speed limit is. But for those of us that do abide by the law and we're trying to get somewhere safe, I am not trying to take you out of your vehicle. I'm just trying to ensure that you and your children and your family can get home and you can get to work. So those are all my comments. Appreciate everyone that is supporting this, and I hope you all have a good night.
And Mr. O'Donnell, would you agree to include a provision in this whereby if, by the analysis of the Traffic Engineering Division alone, without intervention of council and without political arguments about what motives may or may not exist, would you agree that after 5 years of changing the speed limits, if we have not had a reduction in accidents, and in fact, if the Traffic Engineering Division cannot certify that the streets are safer based on 5 years of comparative data, would you agree right now to include a provision to revert to the current speed limits if, in fact, safety is the prevailing motivation of your concern here?
If in 5 years accidents have not diminished even by one, I would agree to that with the exception of this. Anywhere near a school zone or a high residential area, I would not be willing to raise the speed limits back to where they are.
Just as maybe I'm ignorant on this, but I mean, isn't 20 miles an hour near the schools?
25.
25, and we're going to 20?
No, this regulatory speed limit, when the children are present, the signs that we see, those remain, they're 25.
Wait, so we're not lowering that?
We're making it consistent from 45 to 40.
Yeah. The recommendations in the staff report is for the regular speed limit that is applicable 24/7 in school.
In 5 years, it's expected by council. In 5 years, it's expected by council, direction of council, that an analysis of the safety impact of this decision will come back.
Yes.
I won't be here to talk about it. You might.
I hope you show up right down there
Oh,
at
I
this
will.
podium when that happens.
I will.
I might not even be here to talk about it.
Mr.
Who knows?
Hassanen, could you? I'll be a private citizen at that time, so I'll buy you a free lunch if you'll remind me to show up. And
City Manager, could you add that to the calendar 5 years from this date? Yes. We don't need a workshop for it.
all right, we got a motion and a second. Can we make it illegal to rob a bank too next? Is it? We can't make, I think we could make it a municipal misdemeanor. Okay, that item passes with 1 vote from the mayor against it and 4 votes in favor of it. We are now, we don't have any more oral communications. I think we're on to comments. And let's start with our city clerk's office. Any comments down that way? And Mr. Chung, no comments, none from Mr. Conley. Mr. Fox.
Perfect. So I just quick update. Last time I was here, I mentioned that I was about to have my first North County Dispatch Joint Powers Authority board meeting. I have now had that meeting, and so there was only 2 real actionable things that we need to know about. One of is the cost to the city of Vista is going to go up 1%, which, you know, compared to a lot of the other cities, seemed reasonable. And I was also proud to hear that the dispatch answers 99.4% of calls within 15 seconds. And that's, I guess, a very standout number. Their goal is 80%, so 99.4 was pretty good. I'll be joining the San Diego North Economic Development Council on an exploratory trip to Round Rock, Texas next week to meet about some innovative things they're doing in the city, and I'll have some updates about that when I get back. There's a Vista Chamber of Commerce business mixer tomorrow at Virgin on Santa Fe from 5 to 7, so make sure you attend that. It's Taco Tuesday, which I will be going to directly from this meeting to enjoy some wonderful tacos, and I'd like to thank my amazing wife, who's still at work and probably will not hear this, but I still feel compelled to say it.
Okay, Councilmember O'Donnell.
Thank you. Yeah, so just 2 quick updates on commissions. In Encina, we just had a budget workshop, so We're working on trying to lower the electricity rates and just the rates of production at Encina with some new digesters and add-ons and a few other things. And I'm forgetting the technical term because I left my notes in my office. But that should be good. I'll give an update on that once it actually comes before the board. Anybody going to the Farmers Cup this weekend, please be safe. I understand the concerns of our community when you're attending an event like this, whether it's marijuana or alcohol or whatever it might be. Just please exercise good caution. Do not be high in driving, and deputies, good luck out there. Communications team. Are they still here? Anybody, is Fred or any of them still here? No, I just want to give a shout out to Fred Tracy, London Adams, and Aaron Gilman. They are doing a phenomenal job with our communications and getting feedback from residents and making sure that people are aware of things. And I know that they get thanked a lot, but they really are doing a great work. I want to thank Imelda Huerta back there. I was not able to attend Cal Cities due to a work conflict. I know the mayor was in attendance, so I'll keep it brief if you want to give an update, because I feel like there's more information on it that you probably would like to give. But I know Summer Stefan was there, and do you want to give that update?
I'd be happy to.
Okay, I'll bypass that. And to my lovely wife, Allie, who I know was at home watching up until about 20 minutes ago, I love you very much, and I'm going to be stopping to get some food, so you'll be sleeping before I get home. But to this council, I know that we don't always agree and we get a little feisty up here, but I really do appreciate the dialogue, and we always try and find some way to move us forward. So thank you all for your service to the city of Vista. You all have a great night.
Councilmember Contreras.
All right, y'all. So tomorrow, Guerreras en Acción por un Vista Limpio will be doing their weekly trash pickup out of Luz Duran Park. But also on the 15th, there's going to be a big cleanup that they're doing. So this Saturday, if you want to join, you can contact me or contact the captain, Jovita Serafin. You can find them on social media. And I do want to say that I am in communications with Vista Unified School District and with NCTD regarding Rancho Minerva Middle School and the bus route. So I look forward to pulling together a community meeting since there's going to be some population shifts. It's critical for our students to be able to get to school in a timely fashion and not have to walk miles and miles or get an Uber or a Lyft. So I'll let you all know a little bit more. I just am working with our CEO, Sean, at NCTD, and it looks like we're going to be able to have a good community meeting in the near future. So thank you all so much. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.
Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. March 15th is Shoe the World Day. Last year, I worked with nonprofits and volunteers to conduct a shoe drive for women and children. Thank you to everyone who participated in that inaugural shoe drive, where we distributed over 100 pairs of shoes to families in need. Fantastic work. This year, I hope to continue our success, and with the generous sponsorship of North County Ford, we will be able to provide shoes to children in our local Head Start program. You too can participate in this effort. Starting Thursday, donation boxes will be stationed at the Vistix office and here at the Civic Center. Help us reach even more children in our community by donating a pair of new or like new shoes in recognition of Shoe the World Day. Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.
Well, thank you to our Assistant City Manager, Imelda Huerta. She took excellent notes at the Cal Cities division. Right before the Cal Cities meeting, the California Association of Cities, we had the Mayor's Selection Committee, which is comprised and required by state law to make certain appointments, nominations. We elected Mayor John Duncan to represent us on the County Pollution Control Board. We did at Cal Cities hear from our esteemed district attorney, who's doing a phenomenal job. Of course, she led the way on passage of Prop 36, and she reported to us that we've had 148 cases countywide being prosecuted under Prop 36 of theft with priors. Our deputies are now able to aggregate someone who stole $500 today, it now makes sense to write them a ticket, because tomorrow, if they steal another $500, now we've got them on a felony crime. So that's really good, and we're able to pursue some felony prosecutions now for what was misdemeanor theft. Also very important, 340 cases of drug possession with priors. And this is really important, and I'll tell you, as Summer Steffen said, there's a 117%, 117x rate of death from overdose. In fact, 6% of our unsheltered population died in the last year that we have numbers for because of overdose. So there's a huge consumption of illicit narcotics in our homeless encampments. They're being sold there, as our cops deputies know, because of the operation that they and the GET team affected here in Vista this year, that they've been working on for many months to establish the network of drug sales in the encampments here in our city. One of the things that rankled my sensibilities was some suggestion that the governor has been our friend on cleaning up our off-ramps. He has not. Caltrans has not been a meaningful partner to us. They have came to us and had a meeting, and I don't know that I ever reported out to the council on this, but we had a meeting with Sean Rizzuto, who I generally like and think very well of. He seemed to know that what he was offering wasn't a genuine offer, because in the look on his face, he had no expectation we were going to accept the $100,000 of state money that they'd come and offered us if we would agree to abide by a 14-day, 2-week notice period before we would clean up encampments. As the community may be aware, we started out with a 3-day notice here in Vista, and then we went down to 3 hours, and now with permanent postings on the way in and out of our city, and after individuals have been notified by law enforcement that they are in violation of our laws, now at this time we do not offer notice at all, because these individuals have been put on notice for many weeks and months that they are in violation of our laws. If the governor wanted to help us clean up Caltrans property, then you don't have to stay for this. If you want to make those gestures, sir, you're welcome to go on home. The official meeting is over. But if the governor really wanted to help us, then he would bring CHP to state property and he would assist us. In fact, even better, he would allow our deputy sheriffs to go onto state property, because they are California post-certified law enforcement officers, and he would allow them to enforce the laws of the city of Vista and the state of California on property that is located within the city of Vista. So that's my report. We're doing some good things. Unfortunately, because the county leftist majority ran the county into a budget deficit, they cut funding for the district attorney's office by 2.5%. There's a concerted effort to de-police our county. The county sheriff's department budget was cut by 2.5%. And so I think that's really important when we're talking about the DA. We have fewer dollars available now to prosecute criminals. We have fewer beds available because of changes that have been made in the jails. And yet still we have very little resolution of the problems that we have in our jails. And we don't seem to have a proposal from anybody yet at the Board of Supervisors or elsewhere to fix the problems in our jails that we can point to publicly. At least I'm not aware of any proposals to fix those problems. So we got a lot of big trouble ahead of us that we really need to think about, all of us standing up for law and order in our community, backing our sheriff's department and our district attorney so that they have the resources that they need to do their job. With that, let's see, last thing here, join us for a fun and educational adventure at Kids Eco Explorer Day on March 22nd from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. at the Buena Vista Creek Trail, hosted by the City of Vista's Stormwater Division. This event allows kids to explore and learn more about the environment through interactive activities and games. Special guests from the Vista Irrigation District and San Diego Office of Education will also be there. Don't miss this exciting opportunity for hands-on learning and outdoor fun. For more information, call 760-643-2804. Thank you to my wife, Shauna, for allowing me to serve, as always. Have a great night, everyone.